Well, hello and welcome to the Smells Like Money podcast. Join me, Suzan Chin-Taylor, the DooDoo Diva, as I interview guests who are making an impact on how we manage and operate systems for conveying and treating wastewater. As a veteran of the wastewater, trenchless, and civil infrastructure industry, each week I'll be bringing you industry know-how from industry pros who know how. Join me each week as I speak with representatives of organizations that are utilizing disruptive or new technologies and methods, and executives who are excited to share how to be successful and sustainable in our vital industry. So whether you want to learn about the latest trends in technology, in treatment or trenchless, gain tips on training and retaining great talent, or simply how to be more efficient, productive, or profitable, this podcast is for you. Ready? Let's dive right in. Well, hello, and I am Suzan Chin, the DooDoo Diva from the Smells Like Money podcast, joined here by
Nick Spano of Essential Equipment.
And this week's episode is brought to you live from a very special venue here at the WWETT Show 2023 in Indianapolis.
And a special thanks to our sponsor, RapidView, who's graciously donated a part of their booth so we could record these interviews and podcasts over the course of the couple of days of the show.
So thanks for joining us, and we hope you enjoy this special episode. Hi, everybody, and welcome. And we are tuning in today and visiting with Darrell Liski, the CEO of N Bioorganic Technologies. Welcome to the show, Darrell.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Suzanne.
And we're going to be talking about some new innovations in bioaugmentation. Now, many of you, it's an old term. People know about it.
I don't know. I'm anxious to hear about it.
Okay.
I don't know.
Some people have referred to it for many years as a bug in a jug.
Oh, the bugs.
Bugs. Okay. But we're going to be, one thing about N Bioorganic, it's really turning what I would consider, what I've read about it, bioaugmentation, upside down and backwards on its head, and taking it to a new level. Because by and large, a lot of people have been very disappointed in bioaugmentation because it has lackluster results. It's hard to control. There's so many variables when you're using it. It can be very, very labor intensive. But I wanted Darrell to be on the show with us, Nick, because to explain, there's been some advancements in this by incorporating autonomous, automatic dosing technology, but also changing the type of microbiology that's used to be customized consortiums, and what that means using soil bacteria, the stuff that Mother Nature put on the earth that basically gets rid of all of the organic waste that animals leave, plants leave, and so it was basically born to do. So with that, Darrell, can you tell us a little bit about the technology and the advantages of autonomous bioaugmentation versus traditional forms that probably most of our listeners are more familiar with? Contrast, compare, I guess.
Sure. It's a little complicated with the compound question, but essentially what we've developed is an on-site microbial generator, and we try to differentiate ourselves from what has gone in the past prior to us coming along. And this generator has the ability to dispense up to 1,500 pounds of active state and adapted microbiology. That's important, adapted microbiology to the waste stream. We dispense it into the collection system. It has the ability to replicate itself rapidly because it's already in an active state, and it's been adapted to the waste stream, so it knows exactly what it's going after. And then it has its ability to continue its replication. And we create the perfect environment in our generator where it's duplicating every 20 minutes. When it gets into the waste stream, it'll be about 90, 120 minutes. So you're talking for 1,500 pounds that we can dispense every day for a full month. That'd be 45,000 pounds of active state microbiology dispensed into the collection system. But if you're considering the amount of times that it will duplicate in that time span, you're talking tanker truckloads of active state microbiology. And that's what you need to do, is bring that amount of microbiology to the show if you're going to have the consistent and dependable, reliable results in what microbiology can truly do.
Okay, wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
So, what type of device dispenses this? Is it at a lift station site, or where do you have some type of tank that holds 1,500 pounds?
Well, what we do is what we've developed is a kind of a size of a small freezer. It has the size of 4 feet wide, 3 feet high, 2 feet deep. That's all it is. And again, we have some varying sizes, but that's our platform technology, and it fits and can be scaled to any size operation, either having multiple units or with other operations of step-up tanks and that. We can dispense up to, I was just doing the math on that, it's a little crazy, but it's over 100,000 pounds of active state microbiology daily.
Okay, wow.
So it's quite we're in love with it. That's and it has been turning the heads, but we certainly have had the challenges of what has gone in the prior years with bioaugmentation, somewhat unsuccessfully with regards to, as the professionally known maybe as bug in the jug type of application, bug in the bag. And what they have been up against in the past is that they can bring the microbiology to the collection system. It has to be managed manually. You have to dispense it manually, and then it has to, because it's added in a spore state, it has to wake up and has to get then adapted. Quite often well, not often, but it is fed a lab diet, so it has to then figure out what it's going to go after in regards to its food, and continue on to do what it's expected to do. That has been the problem, because the price point that the collection people can't afford is the cost per pound, or cost per bag that they put in there. Where we're putting our microbiology in there with an on-site generator, so we've decentralized the need to build microbiology somewhere, and then you bring it up there to the collection system or the station where we put it. And so that decentralized on-site microbial generator that continues dispensing active state microbiology. So we're bringing in a little bit of a waste stream, and we introduce that to our microbiology, and then they get used to it, they understand it, and they have what we have is a proprietary consortium that works symbiotically. That's how my CTO co-founder would say it. They work symbiotically, and so that they know how to go after it. They will actually exchange certain components of themselves in order for them to be a more efficient eating machine.
Okay. So how are you able to dispense so much of it? Does it replicate in the holding tank, so it is making more of itself?
Yes, that's essentially what. It's a microbial generator. Not to get too specifics of what we've got on the inside, but we create that perfect environment where it can. Yes, we build them up in high concentrations of active state, and then we dispense them in almost in a cannibalistic. Well, that's our goal, is to get into a cannibalistic mode so that they're almost ready to eat themselves, right? Because they'll self-regulate. This consortium that we built, they'll self-regulate, and we want them to be out there going after what we want them to go after, making the improvements in the wastewater collection system, and of course ultimately in the wastewater treatment plant.
All right, wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah, because it's got some interesting applications also for what I would consider, industrial or food processing. For instance, like breweries. Breweries can often really get dinged hard with fines because of what is in their wastewater before it gets, as you know, released into the mainstream.
Mhm.
And so something like this at a brewery for their first level treatment could remove all of those problematic things before it gets into the main wastewater stream. Well, one of the things that I wanted Darrell to touch on is beyond just, being like the traditional bioaugmentation that everybody knows what it's supposed to do. It's got some other benefits to the collection system that you told me about that you found, such as odor control,
Mhm.
H2S, which is kind of music to any collection system manager's ear. But also, what kind of really surprised me was the energy consumption of how it can really help reduce energy costs at a plant. And what was some of the other, and maybe you could tell us a little bit about some of the other costs that it can help a plant bring down.
Yeah, well, you, again, thanks for
It's a
that.
complex question.
That's right. Um, Certainly, our intent in our application here is to provide a service to the end user and not a high degree, not any capex at all, and actually displace enough operating costs to pay for the service. And how we do that is its ability to, microbiology's ability to um, get rid of the SRBs, the sulfite reducing bacteria, destroying them, stopping them creating the H2S gas, stopping the corrosion in the collection system, and then among other things of converting that collection system into a pre-treatment system, then getting rid of up to about 30% of the sludge that's heading towards the plant, getting rid of that, and then of course in the water treatment plant, they're able to turn down the aeration that's required. Our microbiology is facultative anaerobes, and our strategists, what they don't need is oxygen to stay alive. So there's no need to continue to add um, components to keep your microbiology alive. You don't need to worry about aeration killing it, because it'll live with or without oxygen. So the aeration part of it, when you actually turn down your air rate, that's when you're saving your significant amount of aeration costs. And we've demonstrated that a number of times. And of course, then you have all the sludge costs that we reduce with sludges up to 80 to 100%, depending on what the plant is operating as. And that is another big saving, especially nowadays when you have so many growing restrictions on what you can do with that sludge. Maine has banned the application of municipal sludge on their soils and land right now. So that's just one state alone. So everything has to go to now a landfill in Maine, and the restrictions for that are even getting tighter and tighter.
Wow.
Uh, One of the unique things that you told me that the company does is provide an EIR, or an economic impact report. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that entails?
Absolutely. Our economic impact report is one of the sales tools that we have, and what we have developed is a means and process of which we find out from discussions and interviews with our clients, municipal clients, and they'll tell us what they're spending on their sludge disposal, what they're spending on aeration, and the type of plant that they have, and then a number of other things that they're doing for odor controls and that. And our intent is always is to tell them effectively what amount of cost that we can displace in our in using our services, and so we displace that cost, and then we'll put out those performance guarantees that we will do these very things for them, and then these things that we're doing as far as displacing costs will more than pay for the service. So there's not a 3-4 year sales cycle in regards to capex. It's an OPEX, and we're really displacing enough operating costs to pay for the service. So a lot of times it fits in their budget already. So there's a lot of programs out there that NRWA has so that help um, pay for some of these things if they're having trouble with funds or or tax levies or what might have you. But that being said, that's our intent with the economic impact report, is to demonstrate to them in a visual way that what we can do to save, not only save them money, but actually put them in a net positive position after using our services.
So, what is I would say, the size of the community that you feel like you can have the greatest impact? And will this work in all types of wastewater treatment plants, or are there only specific types that it can be applied to?
Quickly, the answer to the last end of that question is there is no limitation to what our microbiology can be applied to, and there's no restrictions on the type of plant that would be. Every plant out there, every wastewater treatment plant and or lagoon systems are always relying on some sort of microbiology to do what they think it should be doing. The thing that we provide is, again, Bacillus, a genus, Bacillus soil microbiology, and it actually is designed by nature to do what we want to get our butt bugs to try and do in wastewater treatment. And so when we're able to do that, we just using our services, we're able to dominate the system with the right microbiology. So we increase not only the efficiency of the wastewater treatment process, whatever they're using, we actually increase their capacity, because we will convert that collection system to a pre-treatment system, and then allow their filters and digesters and clarifiers all to work much more effectively.
Do you have put up a series of these dispensers like throughout the system, like from down a certain point upstream to?
Yeah, yes, we do put multiple, depending on what our just the one, as we call it affectionately right now, EBSDI. That's dispensing intelligence. But we put these microbial generators out into the collection systems, and not always in series. We put them in specific spots. So its sweet spot is it can manage a 1 MGD all day long. We've had it do up to about 3, 4, almost 5 MGD just on one unit. But it depends on what the collection system or the treatment plant is up against. But we would put out more than one BI depending on the size and the flow of the wastewater treatment plant. Makes sense?
Yeah.
So it can either be, a little lift station or at the headworks, that you would help the city determine what's going to be the best location to achieve the desired
We'll have
result.
Exactly. We'll have our field guys out there, and they'll actually spend some time with the operators and say, okay, well, where you experience the problem. Okay, if that's where the H2S, for example, that's where it's coming from. Well, then that's typically downstream from where the actual problem is. So
Right.
then we'll have a conversation. Okay, well, which one feeds into what? Where it's go? Let's turn some pumps on and see where the flow is, and then we'll be very much more quickly successful in getting rid of the problems.
Okay.
Our microbiology is quite unique. It'll actually not only go downstream, but it'll actually move upstream.
Really? What's so different about your bugs from the old ones that weren't effective?
Essentially, the real difference is the consortium of microbiology that has taken my CTO and our scientists 30 plus years to develop. This consortium, even Val would say that she actually has seen them in the microscope and did the calculations. It'll move 70 miles an hour, if you can believe that. Now, I'm not sure if that's in spurts or if that's, but that's not my level of tech.
So for a layman, basically you've got a custom blend of bugs.
That's exactly it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That are designed to eat what is in that stream.
Yeah. And
Actually,
so
like that food. Yeah.
What's their output? Like we know what they're taking in. What do they put out?
Well, that does vary depending on what we introduce them to, because we're up into a pulp mill too, so that'll be a little bit different than a than municipal wastewater. But they will put out they'll put out CO2. They consume the nitrogen. They'll put out some nitrogen gas, that type of thing. But it's all the natural things. So they'll get rid of the methanes. Get this consortium will get rid of the methanes and the H2S gas, nitrous oxides, all those things. The methanes and nitrous oxides they're the real criminals out there. Not so much for CO2, but they are nitrous oxide. I think it's 300 times worse than CO2.
Oh, wow.
Well, one of the things that you keep mentioning that I'd like clarity on, I'm sure listeners would too, is that you keep talking about services. So one thing whenever you're talking about a technology, the first thing that's going to come across someone's mind is, okay, am I going to need to hire crew or labor to work this thing in the collection system? And how complex is it to run? What's this going to require from me as the end user to keep it operational?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, Suzanne. Really, the end user is really hands off. There's no requirement for them to do anything on a maintenance basis, on a regular basis. As far as visually, they can look at the unit and make sure it's still there. That's the extent. We come in there, we provide all the labor to install the unit, and we provide either through our licensee network is what we provide the labor that would go there and do the regular maintenance. Everything in this specifically too, a microbial generator, and when you're dealing with wastewater, it needs regular maintenance.
So much like, it's, I don't want to say you're leasing it, but basically you're not buying the technology, you're buying the service.
That's right. Yeah.
Of you coming out there and making sure it's running properly and dispensing properly. And
absolutely, we do that all as a treatment as a service, right? And we remotely monitor it. It is autonomous, making decisions on how it needs to operate, and then of course we can actually remotely control it too.
Wow.
No, really, really interesting. It's great. I love bringing, new technology, things that people haven't heard of or seen onto a show and on a platform like this, because they're like, oh yeah, I heard of that before. Yeah, it's just another bug in the jug salesman. But no, nothing could be further from the truth, which is kind of cool.
Yes.
So
we're very happy to be here. That's for sure at the show. And looking forward to making some more inroads. I guess if anything we'd be faced with is the disbelief, the unbelief about it, right? Because it is remarkable. But when if you sit back and think about it, nature as nature is designed, it's been doing it for a billion years ahead of us, and we don't have piles of stinking manure everywhere. So
so like, does a bear poop in the woods? Well, yeah. So where'd the poop go? Genus bacillus ate it, right?
Well, that's it. And we're very excited about some of the other aspects of what we can do with this generator too. So that would take another 20 minutes to talk about that.
Yeah, that's another conversation for another time.
Powered? Do you have to hook up to electrical, or does it use solar, or?
Yes, it has to be powered. It's a small service, single phase, 30 amp is what we look to get hooked up to. We have looked at the solar part of it. We've got some advancements coming down on that part of it, and we will be there, certainly in different sizes too, even to residential size.
So there is a future like septic style application.
Yes, absolutely. So it's very excited about that. That's really we'll be starting some demonstrations in Long Island next Saturday.
Oh, Long Island.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming and sharing the information about this new technology. It sounds really, really exciting. If anybody's interested in learning more, what is the website that they can visit to see more information?
Of course, that's in bioorganic.com. By all means, you can come see us at the booth if you're here at the wet show. But that being said, I'm very pleased to be here and talk about it.
Great.
All right, awesome.
Thanks, Darrell.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining me, the DooDoo Diva, on this week's episode of Smells Like Money. What stood out to you this week? Share your takeaways by leaving me a review. You can find out more about the new technologies, creating sustainable solutions, and insights on how to succeed in our vital industry by subscribing to the show. Whether you want to learn about the latest trends in wastewater infrastructure, treatment, or trenchless, you've got it all right here at Smells Like Money. If you're an industry expert and would like to be considered as a guest for the show, book a quick chat with me by visiting calendly.com/the2it group/B-A-podcast-guest, or simply click the link in the show notes below. Until next week, a big shout out to all my industry friends and those who will be. You are my superheroes. Thanks for tuning in, keeping it flowing, and we'll see you all next week.